There's nothing worse than finishing an incredible anime and realizing nobody talks about it. These are the shows that hit deep, told unforgettable stories, and still got slept on. Today, I'm breaking down the 10 most criminally underrated anime and why anime fans seriously need to stop ignoring them. At number 10 is Erased. This anime follows Satoru, a struggling manga artist who has the ability to leap back in time moments before tragedy strikes. When his mother is murdered, that power sends him all the way back to his childhood, where he realizes the key to saving her lies in preventing a series of kidnappings that happened years ago. This anime is similar to Tokyo Revengers and Death Note. People dismiss Erased because of its ending, and I'll be honest, it isn't perfect. But the emotional build-up, suspense, and tension in the middle episodes are elite. The way it handles childhood trauma and responsibility hits way harder than people give it credit for. At number 9 is Noragami. This anime is about Yato, a broke forgotten god trying to build his shrine and gain followers while teaming up with a human girl and a lost soul turned weapon. It balances comedy, action, and a surprisingly deep theme about identity and purpose. Noragami is similar to Jujutsu Kaisen and Bleach, which is an amazing praise on its own. Noragami walked so modern supernatural anime could run. Since it never got a season 3, people stopped talking about it, but the characters, soundtrack, and emotional arcs are still top tier. If you haven't watched this anime yet, and you love action-packed animes, give this one a watch. Up next is Parasite. In this anime, alien parasites fall from the sky in an orb-like egg and invade Earth by drilling into their hosts and taking over human bodies. Shinichi survives, barely, when one fails to reach his brain and instead takes over his hand. Together, they're forced into a brutal world where humanity isn't always the good guy. Parasite has a similar vibe to Tokyo Ghoul and Attack on Titan. Parasite asks real questions about morality, evolution, and what it means to be human. It doesn't rely on hype moments. It relies on thought. That's why it sticks with you long after it ends. I wish we got to see more of this anime, because there is still a lot more story to be told. Following is Akudama Drive. In a cyberpunk dystopia, criminals known as Akudama are forced into a high-risk mission that spirals into absolute chaos. What starts as a simple job turns into a full-blown war against the system. This anime is similar to cyberpunk Edgerunners and Akira. People wrote this off as style over substance, but they were wrong. The animation is insane, the themes hit hard, and the ending is fearless. This anime commits to its message and doesn't pull punches. At number 6 is Terror in Resonance. In this anime, 2 mysterious teens carry out acts of terrorism across Tokyo, leaving cryptic riddles behind. As the story unfolds, you realize this isn't about destruction. It's about exposing a rotten system. With heavy similarities to Death Note, you can expect a high-quality storyline. This anime is uncomfortable. It doesn't spoon-feed answers or heroes. It makes you question who's right, who's wrong, and whether justice even exists. Plus, that soundtrack by Yoko Kanno is legendary. Next up is Dororo. This one is about a lord who sacrifices his newborn son to demons for power. The child survives, missing his body parts, and grows up hunting those demons to reclaim what was stolen from him, alongside a street-smart kid named Dororo. I'd say it's similar to Demon Slayer and Samurai Champloo. Dororo is raw, brutal, and emotional. It doesn't glorify violence, it shows the cost of it. Hyakimaru's journey is tragic, poetic, and unforgettable, yet it rarely gets mentioned in top anime discussions. At number 4 is Shinsekai Yori. Set in a distant future where humans have psychic powers, this anime slowly reveals a horrifying truth about how society maintains peace, and the terrible price it pays to do so. With similarities to Attack on Titan, you can expect a great story. It's a slow burn, and that scares people off. But if you stick with it, the payoff is disturbing, philosophical, and unforgettable. This is one of those anime that completely recontextualizes itself by the end. At number 3 stands Monster. A doctor saves a young boy's life, and years later discovers that child has become a terrifying serial killer. Monster is a psychological chess match between morality, fate, and evil. Hence the similarity with Death Note, Psycho Pass, and Paranoia Agent. No one talks about Monster because it's not flashy. No power-ups, no screaming, just masterful storytelling, and one of the greatest villains in anime history. Johann Liebert is genuinely unsettling. Second to last is Ergo Proxy. In a post-apocalyptic world where humans live alongside androids, a detective uncovers a truth that shatters reality, identity, and free will itself. Serial Experiments Layan, Ghost in the Shell, Evangelion are all in the same ballpark as this anime. Ergo Proxy doesn't explain itself. It challenges you. If you miss one detail, the whole meaning shifts. This anime respects your intelligence and demands your attention, and that's exactly why it deserves more love. And at number 1 is Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress. Kabaneri takes place in a brutal, steampunk-style world where humanity is on the brink of extinction because of creatures called Kabane. These things are basically zombies, but way worse, they're fast, vicious, and almost impossible to kill because their hearts are literally encased in iron. The last humans live inside heavily fortified stations and travel between them on massive armored trains just to survive. The story follows Ikoma, a genius engineer who's obsessed with finding a way to fight back. During a Kabane outbreak, he becomes a Kabaneri, half human, half Kabane. He keeps his mind and humanity, but gains insane strength, speed, and regeneration. Let's get the obvious comparison out of the way. Yes, it feels like Attack on Titan meets Demon Slayer, but that's not a bad thing. Honestly, Kabaneri got unlucky. It came out when Attack on Titan hype was at its peak, so people immediately dismissed it as a clone instead of judging it on its own merits. Another reason is that it doesn't play it safe. People die suddenly. Leaders make terrible decisions. Fear turns humans into the real villains sometimes. That kind of story isn't comfortable. And not everyone likes that. On top of that, the animation by W-It Studio is insane, and the soundtrack by Hiroyuki Sawano goes way harder than it needed to. The action scenes are fast, fluid, and intense, still holding up years later. If you've seen even half of these anime, you already know how criminally underrated they are. And if you haven't, congratulations, your watch list just leveled up. Let me know which one I should break down next, because anime like this deserves to be talked about.